Hello, hello. Happy Wednesday, everyone. How is everyone doing? All right, I'm just going to send out some invites. Make sure everyone knows that the live feed is here. My name is Nikki Clarke, and we're about to kick off another great interview. An amazing individual with us today. His name is Meir Ezra, and I think he's joining us right now. Welcome. How are you today?
Very good. How are you?
Excellent, excellent. It's 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time here in Toronto, Canada. And what time is it where you are right now?
8 p.m. 8 p.m. in South Africa, in
In
heaven.
South Africa. Oh, wonderful, wonderful. I hear it's a beautiful country, and I hope to be there soon whenever time permits and the quarantine lifts,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate your time, and as I was sharing, and thank you for everyone who's joining, by the way. As you come in, I'm going to give you a wave. So let me give you a shout out, Harish and CEO Finley, thank you for joining. And we have more people coming. Sanzi, wow, would love to visit one day. Sanzi, I'm sure you'll be in South Africa one day. We'll make sure it happens. All right, so please keep sending your messages. And if you have questions for me here, please don't hesitate. I'm sure we'll be welcome to questions as they come along. Meir is an outstanding man. He is a business coach. He is also an entrepreneur, a banker, and he has just a wealth of wisdom to share with people. So I'm really quite blessed to have him with us today. So let's get to it. You know, so many people know about your resume, but I think the beauty of the show is to allow people to share the story behind the story. And the premise of the show is transforming lives one story at a time. And from people all walks of life like yourself, we talk about how we got to that place in the sun. So, Meir, can you tell us a little bit about how that started?
It started when I was born.
In the beginning.
In the beginning, or before the beginning. So in the beginning, there was I was born in Israel, and actually I have quite an interesting story because I was born with my both feet pointing backward.
Oh.
So I was in cast up to my hips from the age of 3 days to the age of 6 for 6 years, and every 3 days my mom took me in a bus to a hospital that was about 1.5 hours away in a bus, and they would cut the cast, break the feet and put it back on. Yes, it was terrible. And after 6 years the feet started to point forward, but they said that I wouldn't walk.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so I didn't think that it's a good possibility. So I decided that I will walk, and I started to push myself and push myself and push myself. And to cut a long story short, at the age of 18, everyone in Israel have to go to the army. And I decided that I'm going to join the most difficult, most prestigious unit in the Israeli army, or one of the most prestigious, and I became a diver. So we started a course of 2 years. We started 4,000 people. We ended up after 2 years, 21 people. And I've done the whole course with extreme pain because I couldn't move the feet. So just by what you can tell the body to do. So generally my view on life is that you can either use your body or serve your body.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
When you use your body, the bodies do what you tell them to do. And when you serve the body, you do what the body tells you to do.
Ah, there's a difference.
Yeah. And most people around me I saw getting, you know, people get tired, people get hungry, people get all kind of things. They have all those things that the body need and they obey. And I did not obey. So I went to the army. I was 6 years there. I was a diver, went to the Far East, and it was living on $6 per day, climbed the Himalaya, did all kind of crazy things. And after a year, the money was ended, And someone told me that in South Africa, someone need a programmer. I never programmed in my life. And I said, I can do it. Never seen a PC, never. It was just the beginning of PCs. And I never seen a PC. So I bought a book and I read about programming. At that time, there was no YouTube. I read about programming and I said, that's easy. That's quite simple. I arrived to South Africa. Really, I didn't know how a PC looks. I never turned on a PC. Arrived to South Africa. This guy said, okay, good, let's start programming. And I looked and I said, that's not a problem. I started to work and I established a company. And I decided that I'm not going to just write a program, that I'm going to write a program that's writing programs. And that program did very, very well. After a year, I sold it, went back to the Far East, came back to South Africa. And on the way to South Africa, I was in Israel. And I saw a system there, and a system that combat fuel fraud. And I said, whoa, they must need it in South Africa. And they said, no, there was a company in South Africa now for 7 years. They just went bankrupt. So there's no way that you will do well with that. And, you know, you cannot speak English and you have long hair and earrings. And it's not exactly the right. I said, I think I can sell it. They said, no, you cannot. And I said, I think I can. To cut the long story short, 3 months later, I signed a deal with BP for $100 million.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is someone who didn't even know, like, the whole formula, how to create a PC. Now you are in the millions creating a company.
$100 million. Yeah, $100 million. And I've done it only without English, without knowing how to speak English.
Not knowing English.
No, I couldn't read the menu. Like if I would need the menu, my wife would have to translate it to me to Hebrew. And all of that I've done just with one thing. I knew that I know. I was certain. I just knew that I know. I just knew. So that certainty created money. And in my opinion, every time I failed is when I allowed an uncertainty to come in, when I allowed any kind of fear. Because what is fear? Fear is an unwillingness to communicate. There is an unwillingness to communicate. When I say, what? And you'll see that someone that gets afraid is like turning around. He doesn't want to communicate. Fear is just an unwillingness to communicate. So if you're unwilling to communicate, so obviously what you're afraid of do not exist because you're not seeing what is there. You're not communicating. And what? Yeah, go ahead.
I wanted to ask you, so what is it that is not communicating? Who are you not communicating with?
The environment, the other person. If I'm afraid of you, I will not communicate with you.
Okay, so shut down from the environment, from people. Okay.
Yeah, you're not perceiving. You're not willing to communicate. You're not willing. You're preventing communication. You're not perceiving anything. You can say that fear is a state of imperception. It's a state of imperception. So it is almost always true that what you're afraid of do not exist.
Okay.
Because if you don't perceive.
Thus creating these barriers and preventing you from receiving, just like you said.
Yeah, you don't see. So now when you don't see, you'll make mistakes. So when you're afraid, you always make mistakes. If you look backward, you look at any situation, you say, you know, if I knew what I know today, why didn't you know what you know today? Because you were not willing to look. It's not that it was not there, it was there. You were not willing to look. And you'll see that any problem, a person have, I don't know, a credit card bill, any kind of problem, the handling of a problem has to do with gaining the ability to look at the problem. And anyone that tells you not to look, anyone that tells you that you need to be afraid is actually your enemy. Because you are as alive as you are willing to communicate. You are as alive as you're willing to look. I don't know if you notice that dead people don't see what's going on around them. Yes, and they don't communicate. You talk to them, they don't answer. So you want to be alive. You want to be successful. Be willing to communicate with anything. Be willing to communicate with anything. So you will see that people are as successful as they are willing to communicate. As successful as they are willing to communicate, because when you communicate, you cannot be afraid. And what can hurt you? Only those things that you are unwilling to communicate with. If you look at what hurts you in life, is those things that you put aside: a bill from the credit card, a tax bill, a situation with someone. You saw something that your husband or your wife doing, and you were not willing to communicate about it. You just close your eyes. One day it will explode.
So true.
And what the media is doing is causing a mass feeling of fear, which is don't communicate, don't look. So people can go and just by pure stupidity do things that are stupid, and everyone is exposed to that. Kings and peasants, gods and slaves, everyone is exposed to this brainwashing that's going on with the media, which is be afraid, be afraid, be afraid, be afraid. A true leader never makes his people afraid. A true leader gives hope. A true leader shows the people that there is a light. A true leader don't tell them everything is bad, when actually there's nothing bad. You look at the corona, for example, and they tell you this pandemic. There's no pandemic. Pandemic is like in the Black Plague, when there was bodies in the street. You needed a bulldozer to push them away. When I would see people lying in beds outside or in the parking lots of hospitals, there's a pandemic. When I would see people dying in the street, there's a pandemic. Because if you look at the numbers, I'll give you some numbers. Right now, do you know how many people are dying so far across the world? Like, just how many deaths we had across the world? I'm looking here at an actual website. It's called I think it's called the World Meter. So far this year, almost 994,000 died. Almost 25 million died across the world. From Corona, 400,000 died. It's nothing. If you take 400,000 people and divide it by 300 more or less countries, 350, you're talking about 1,500 people per country? 3,000, let's multiply, 5,000 people per country. How many people die from accidents? From accidents, people dies from accidents, let's say, flew 206,000 people. How many children under the age of 5 die across the world? 3.2 million people. No one's stopping the whole. How many people die? How many children die from abortion? 18 million people. How many people die from HIV? 700,000 people. Cancer, 3.4 million. So when you look at that and you see that they're telling you need to be afraid, it's crazy. It's lies. You don't need to be afraid.
What is the purpose of instilling fear?
Okay. So when someone lied to you, he wants to control you. When someone controls you, he will lie to you. And this, you don't need to go to the media and so on. Look at your husband, look at your wife. If they want to control you, if they're controlling, they're lying. Someone that controls you, lie to you. Because a person that loves you do not cage you, but give you freedom. What does it mean, love? Love love means the urge to be together for no reason at all. Love do not mean, okay, now you belong to me, I put you in a cage and preferably locked one. No, that's not love. So when someone wants to control you, when someone do not, my opinion of the purpose of a husband and wife, the purpose of a husband and obviously for the wife as well, is to maximize the potential of the spouse, not to cage the spouse, to maximize the potential. If you understand that, you understand that if someone do anything other than that, he's actually not your friend.
No. Detrimental, absolutely. Yeah. So the purpose then of these perpetuating these lies in the media is to control readership, to
control the population, to do whatever the media actually is not what you see. The media, there's some owners for the media that have their own agenda and they want to control the population. They want the population to do whatever they want to do. And they have some ideas about what kind of population is good for them. An intelligent population is not good for them. Because people that are intelligent, that actually can... What does it mean to be clever? I have a very interesting definition for the word clever. My definition of the word clever is the ability to recognize truth. What they don't want is for you to recognize the truth, because if you recognize truth, you're a free man. So what they do something that is quite unbelievable. They convince you that your health is more important than your freedom. And you will see that you ask people, most people will tell you, my health is more important than my freedom. Until I tell them, okay, good, so why did you go and fight for your country? Or if I will put you in a box for the rest of your life, you're going to be extremely healthy. Mm-hmm. Will you be willing to be in the box? No, because your freedom is more important than your immediate body. And they convince you by fear, by giving you lies, by controlling you, that your body is more important than your freedom, and now you agree to anything, and you agree to be controlled, and they have plans for us. They have plans for us. But for me, what they want to do is less important. Who it is that are conspiracy theories is less important. For me, what's more important is the handling. That's the handling. What's the handling? So my handling, what I'm telling to my student is two things. Number one, always obey the law. Never break the law. Never break the law. Number two, don't agree. Just be clever enough to look and to recognize where is the lies. How do you know that something is a lie? It
to be discerning.
It causes you to be afraid. It's not empowering you. It's controlling you. It's a lie. That's it. You just look. Is it empowering me or not? No. Is it giving me more freedom or less freedom? Is it caging me or not? Is it making me afraid or not? Anything that makes me afraid, anything that cages me, anything that takes away from me my freedom for any reason is damaging for me, and I should just not agree. That's it. The moment that you recognize, the moment that you will not agree, you're exercising your self-determinism, you're becoming cause rather than effect. And the moment that you become a little bit cause, you feel great and you will do something about it. You will do something about it. So my general message to my people is something can be done about it. Don't buy this thing of, oh, the only thing that we can do is wait and hope for a vaccine. No. The only thing that we can do is go out, live our life, despite the virus, despite anything, because no virus has been handled by quarantine, definitely not by mask that actually making you sick, definitely not by fear, which make you even more susceptible for viruses. It's just incorrect. And how do you know, without all the argument, who is right and who is wrong, blah, 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 if it makes you afraid, it's a lie. If it's trying to control you, it's a lie. That's it. That's a kind of a law. It's something that should be very stable for you, and you can find it just by looking at your own life. You have a boss that wants to control you, he's lying to you. You want to control your boss, or you lying to your boss? If I'm lying to my boss, I want to control him because I don't want him to look what I'm doing.
Nobody's communicating well.
Exactly.
Everybody's sitting down in their own little quarters.
All of a sudden there's total, everyone fighting with everyone, There's no harmony. So this is generally my view. It's about the coronavirus. And the insanity is, the problem with insanity is that insanity is contagious. Insanity is contagious. It's actually unbelievable, but insanity is the most contagious disease in the universe. There's nothing more contagious than insanity. You see insanity on TV, you will see that people will start to act like that. And statistically, you will see that if you see some person doing something terrible, I don't know, kidnapping a child, okay? Or doing something that we never thought about, taking his children and putting them in this place and raping the child and doing something terrible that you cannot even say it. It's so terrible, yes? All of a sudden you find more and more and more and more cases like that. Because insanity is contagious. When one person starts to be afraid, you see that if some people start to run because they're afraid, other people will start to run and they will not know why they're running, but they will be afraid. So you can run away from things and become afraid, or you can become afraid and run away from things. It works both ways. So the first thing is, don't agree for any invitations to be afraid. What you should do is to love despite all invitations to do otherwise. And you will see, you will never get sick. If you continue to love despite all invitations to do otherwise, there will not be pain for you, because pain cannot come where love is. Pain cannot come to where communication is. Actually, pain is actually the body avoiding you from communicating with that area. That's the whole manifestation of pain. So if you want a happy, successful life, love despite all invitations to do otherwise. And love do not mean social distancing. Love means the urge to be together for no reason at all, not the urge to be afraid. So despite the fact that very important looking politicians telling you that you need to, that love is to be apart, no, they've been wrong for a long time and they're wrong now. Love is the urge to be together, is to communicate more, not less. And you will see that you will look at the virus and the virus will shiver once you look at him, and not the other way around. Right now, most people shiver when they think about the virus. We need to be so certain, so powerful. So it's fine. I'm willing to win and lose with the same level of enthusiasm. So when I look at the virus gets a heart attack.
Stops dead in its tracks and goes,
Exactly.
not this one.
Exactly. I'm too happy for him.
I have a question, and those are all, brilliant kind of musings. I really appreciate what you shared. I have a question here. Sanzi says, not sure if Meir's already answered this, but when did he start his business and how old was he?
I started my business when I was 3 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, I'll tell you the story.
Early entrepreneurial skills.
I'll tell you this story. This is an interesting story because I define the word spirit as this thing that knows. The spirit is me. I don't have a spirit. I am a spirit. I have a body. I have a mind. I have a brain. But I am a spirit. And the spirit, this thing that I am, is this thing that knows. So I know. So the question is, how come I don't know? So you don't know because you have something that I call fake reality. Fake reality is a piece of information you are 100% sure is right, but when you use it, it doesn't bring the expected results. And the story of my business is I was 3 years old with I had still the cast, and I woke up one day and the radio at home did not work. So I crawled to the radio, opened the back of the radio, looked around, took out a vacuum tube, went to my dad and told my dad, Dad, we need to buy this vacuum tube and I will replace it and the radio will work. And this is a story that my family tell me again and again and again. It's like the story in the family. So so he asked me, how do you know that this is the vacuum tube that broke and not something else? I said, how do I know? How do you know your name? When you know, you know. He bought the vacuum tube. I replaced it. The radio worked. And since then, I started to fix electronics for all the neighbors. And I started to build the radios and amplifiers and all kind of things. And by the age of 13, I was making more money than my parents. Yeah. Why? Because I assume that I know. I never learned electronics. I went to the Israeli army. I was a diver, and my job there you have a specialized job there. I got to the highest level of electronic countermeasures, and I was the only person there that didn't go to an engineering school and actually got to that position. Why? Because I assume that I know. Like I assume that I know how to program. I just decided I know how to program.
So there was nothing that limited you in venturing in anything. So you, from a very early age, as soon as you could verbalize and move around, you live without limitations.
Yeah.
Does that speak to the parenting that you had growing up, or that's just you?
Just it's the person. The parents, if you start to blame the parents, you will never be anyone. The parents, my father was a policeman, my mother was cleaning lady at the municipality. They didn't speak well the language. They came from Morocco to Israel. I didn't, when I was up to the age of 6 more or less, I didn't speak even Hebrew. I didn't speak the local language because I heard at home only Moroccan and French. And they were, they were just simple people that was never at home, always working, very, hard kind of living, very, very, very small apartment, 2-bedroom, 7 kids in the north of Israel, where we had the war every night. We had 30, 40, 50 missiles every night for years. Missiles hit our own place. So very hard life. It's not, it wasn't like I didn't born into some kind of a 5-star family. And you can see from 7 kids, some do that, some like that. It's the person, the spirit. What you as a spirit decide is what will happen.
Sanzi Meir says, from a very early age, Meir was aware of his God-given gift. That's what made it easier for him to pursue without that fear that would hold him back. Thank you so much for that observation.
Yeah, totally agree. It's coming from the Creator. It's not coming from the water or the parents. It's not the food, it's not the water, it's not the parents. The parents can help, the parents can assist, the parents can make things better or worse. But if you are willing, everyone have that. It's not that I have it and someone else don't have it. If you are willing to decide that you know, and will you be willing to decide that you know? Not be afraid. Because if you're afraid, you will never jump.
Can I share something with you? Absolutely, and I totally attest to what Sanzi said about connecting with the Creator, because the Creator will ask you to do things that if you don't have the fear to hold you back, you'll just go for it. When I started this show, I was in a very comfortable position teaching at a college for 10 years. And then the divine whisper got louder and louder, and it says, you've got to start this movement. And without a safety net, I took a leap of faith, and I never looked back, and the show's been evolving for 12 years. So I completely understand.
Yeah, it's amazing and well done. And it's only this thing, if you are your enemy, your only enemy is anyone that promotes fear, anyone that tells you that you cannot, anyone that tells you that you need to be careful. Anyone, when if my son takes the car, usually I hear people telling the children, oh, be careful. When my son get the car, I tell him, be aggressive.
Be aggressive.
Go for it. Play. Go play,
for it.
Play. Yeah, go for it. I said that there is something that's called seriousness. I define seriousness as something that it's a condition that gets you to do something or not to do because of the punishment. Not because if it's right or wrong, but because of the punishment. So you go to work because if you don't go to work, you will not get paid, punishment. And if you will not get paid, you will not be able to pay the mortgage. And if you will not pay the mortgage, you will not have a house. So you go to work. So you become very serious. Yes? And how serious a person get? Dead serious. So the more serious you are, the more you live, because living is a game. You play, it's a game. And you play not to win. You play not to lose. You play to enjoy the game. And the only way to enjoy the game is to be willing to win and lose with the same level of enthusiasm. And the maximum that can happen, you die. And I heard, the last time that I heard is that when you die, You go, you get a body for free. They don't even ask you to sign a delivery note. Nothing.
No
They're giving
contract.
you for free.
Good to go.
No contract, like nothing. They're giving it to you for free. You know,
Yeah.
it's like wonderful. You don't even have to buy it. You don't even have to be Jewish and have money, you know.
And I think that's why I'm always gravitating to children, because they have this freedom. If they're not corrupted with this idea of being held in like a box, and they're also very honest. They're very candid about the way they feel if they're allowed to express themselves, and they're just fun. And you know, I just like to be around playful people. It's awesome. So let's talk a little bit, Meir, about, there's a quote that I found on I was creeping on your Instagram today, and I saw something that said, a quote from you: "Solutions don't solve problems, they just move the problem somewhere else." Can you talk about that?
Yeah, okay. So let's define first of all the word problem, okay? A problem is force counter force. That's a problem. I want money, the physical universe
I lost
say no.
your volume a little bit.
Okay. A problem, the definition of the word problem. Can you hear me? Oops.
I'm sorry, I lost your volume just a little bit. Can you speak up a bit?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
I can hear. Okay, good. So the word problem means force counter force. This is the problem. I want money, you don't want to give me. I want love, you say you don't love me. That's a problem, yes? Force counter force, yes? There's two ways to solve problems. One is to push, okay? If you push, you didn't really solve the problem, because now you need to keep this thing down. So you didn't solve the problem, you just moved it away. The other way is to stop pushing, then there's no problem. To stop pushing, yes? See, the problem, if I don't push against that hand, if I don't push, if he tried to push, there's no problem, because I'm not pushing. If someone come to me and say, "You're an idiot," and I had people telling me online sometimes, you know, "You are an idiot, you are da, 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 da." And I say, "Wow, thank you very much for sharing your opinion with me." Because I really believe that he's just sharing his opinion. He wants to help me from his viewpoint. He thinks that his viewpoint is so good that if I will take his viewpoint, it will be better for me. So why should I fight with him? Because he actually wants to help me. From his viewpoint, he wants to help me. And if I understand that, I can honestly say, thank you for sharing it, not just as being, you know, covered, but actually telling him what I think. Thank you for helping me. So if you don't push against something, there is no problem. All your problem you're creating by pushing against something. Now, how do you stop pushing? How do you stop a problem? How do you undo a problem? How do you make a problem to disappear, not to be solved? And this is something that anyone can do. You have a problem. What you do, you take a piece of paper and you don't try to solve the problem. You write everything you know about the problem. Everything you know about the problems. You just, you write what you know about the problem, what you know. You write everything you know about the problem. If you don't know, you still know. You say, I don't know that. So you know that you don't know. Everything that is a maybe, you say, I know that this is a maybe. You write everything about the problem. You write, and all of a sudden you'll see that there will not be a problem. The biggest magic in the universe. I'll give you an example.
Awesome. Meir, I have someone who asked, Lizzie, shout out to Lizzie Show. She wants to ask you, what do you mean by push? Do you mean not acknowledging it?
I mean resisting it. The word resist means keep close in order to avoid. What do you avoid? Look how stupid we are, yes? When I don't want something, I resist it. When I resist it, I need to keep in contact with it. Otherwise, I cannot resist it, which means I don't like it, but I resist it, which means I keep close. Resist means keep close in order to avoid. The moment that you decide, I can win and lose with the same level of enthusiasm, I don't need to push. I don't need to keep it close. I don't need to resist it. When you stop resisting, you shine. You can come up with any idea and bring it about. And ideas are more possible than all the bullets in the universe, because ideas cannot be stopped. Ideas cannot be stopped. You know, you can build a fortress, you can build something like a bunker that no nuclear, nothing can come through, blah, 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 but you will need some communication into the fortress through some kind of communication. Through this communication line, an idea will come in and it will change.
Awesome.
Ideas are
Lizzie
bigger
says,
than
thank you very much. She gets it. And I'm just going to give a couple of shout outs. Che Marvell, welcome. Sonia Dollar, our mutual friend, thank you for joining. Frank Corbin, Allison, thank you for joining. And Shay, thank you so much for tuning in. Leslie, Mike, the agent, I really appreciate you joining us. So if you have some questions, I think it's okay to ask, and Meir is very gracious to answer them. So we talked about a number of things. We talked about love more and fear not. One of the biggest things, fear and anxiety, is just looming all around us, and it's being perpetuated through the internet, through the media images. So we have to really be able to conquer those things. Love conquers all. And we also talked about how coming up with our own solutions, being creative in the way that we know how through our own giftings.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you something, Meir, about your children. How many children do you have, and what are some of the giftings that you've seen?
So I have 3 kids. My oldest son is 28. He just got married, and he is more amazing than amazing. And probably the most amazing thing about him or what caused him to be so successful, is that he has a combination of extreme ability to communicate. Like, he can communicate really, really, really well in a nice way. He is a nice guy. And you can see that by the type of friends that he has. I see it by the type of friends that he has. He has friends that each one of them, for me, it's like, wow, wow. The type of friends that he attracts tell me about him. Yes, of course, I'm totally biased. Yes, but the type of friends that he has is telling me about him. So he's very, very, very successful, extremely nice person. Very likable, very, like, everyone knows him in Cape Town. He has many companies. His story is quite amazing. When he was he grew up in the US. He born in South Africa, but he grew up in the US. We were living in the US for a long time. And when he got to the age of 18, we went to Israel, and when we want to come back, he didn't get a visa to come back. We got a visa. He didn't, because he completed his high school and they didn't give him a visa. So now he was forced to not to be with us, not to be in the US. So I bought him one-way ticket to South Africa, and I told him that he can live with his grandma and that he needs to start his life. And he said, oh, good, so give me some money. And I said, no, you've got a place to sleep, you've got a place, you are secure, and that's it. You start your life. He said, okay, so buy me a car. Nope. Buy me a scooter. Nope. Buy me a bicycle. Nope. Give me something. No. So I was like, no, you will make it by your own. Well, but you have a lot of money and this is not fair. And after a lot of blah, 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 he realizes he needs to make it go right. And I told him, I'm willing to help you with explaining, with showing you, with training you, with but you need to make it go right. A year later, he established, he had a successful company running. 2 years later, his company, it was an event company. It is an event company. It became the biggest event company in South Africa. He started a few other companies, all of them without exception, very, 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 very successful. Like, I'm talking about successful, not small money, yes? And it is because I insisted that he knows all his life. I never answered his questions. I insisted that he will find out. I insisted that he knows. And that's what makes the difference with him. I have a daughter, and she's 19. She just finished high school, and she's amazing, amazing. She finished high school two days ago over Zoom. So she completed high school. She went to a very special school where the passing standard is 100%. So they study there, and the passing standard is 100%. So no one actually, they don't learn together. They learn, each one learning his own pace. So when you get 100% in the exam, you finish that section and you go like that. So she just completed her school, and she, with of course 100%, and she's very happy. And she wants to, as she said, to rot for a few weeks now, after she worked very hard. So she wants a holiday. She's rotting in her room, and that's all she's doing. And my son is 15, and he's studying. He's at school, and he's studying, and he's doing very, very, very well, and extremely able. And each one of them is totally different. Like, which
amazing.
Like, you can see that the body do not mean anything. The spirit are different. They're from the same parents. I'm married for 34 years, but totally different kids. Each one is totally different.
Meir, I'm so really thankful for your time with us today, and I don't want to keep you much longer, but I wanted to kind of conclude the show with a message for those who are coping with many things and going through a range of emotions. And of late, what we have been witnessing with the tragedies in the south of the border, some things have happened of late in Canada as well, where anti-Black racism is concerned. Many people from all communities are hurting, and they're feeling the pain of the loss of a brother or a sister or daughter. So what message can you give us right now? Some message of hope. The pandemic or the so-called pandemic, as you say, or COVID-19, and then all this that is going on is compounding, and people are hurting. So what message of hope can you offer right now?
I'll give you a message, and I want to maybe just give you a 3 minutes explanation of what I think is going on. Okay? So the word, and just at the end, I'll give you the message, what I think what's actually everyone should hear. So the word moral means the ability to see right from wrong and act from that viewpoint. So a moral person is actually can see right from wrong and act from that viewpoint. What does it mean, right? Right is not what's right for me or for you. Right is actually the greatest survival to the greatest number of being, people, or things. So if I invent a drug that kills one person and saves 1 billion, it's right, okay? Now, moral code is when a group of people find that a specific behavior improves the survival of that group, that's become their moral code. So for example, criminal moral code is don't tell the police. Our moral code is tell the police, yes? So moral code is when a group finds that a specific behavior improves their survival, the survival of the group. Now, when you join a group, you actually take on yourself the moral code of the group, and as long as you behave like that, you consider to be ethical. So if I'm Jewish and I'm acting according to the 10 Commandments, I'm ethical. But the moment that I do something against the 10 Commandments, I'm not ethical anymore. And then there's something that's called justice. What is justice? The purpose of justice is to get the person to be moral again, to be ethical again, which means to hold the moral code of the group, okay? And when injustice becomes injustice, when a second after the person becomes ethical, you keep on hitting him. Then what you create is criminality. So what I see with all these things that happen in the US right now, so there was definitely a situation of an unethical policeman, one or more, yes? And maybe an unethical viewpoint of the whole group of police. It's probably the whole group have an unethical viewpoint. Yes, because their moral code is we will protect the people, not hurt them. Yes. And now the people went out to the street because they wanted justice. And this is right. They should get justice.
Yes.
But once they started with violence, they're doing something that is exactly what they're asking for. They're asking for the people to be ethical, and they go and do something unethical. They're hurting people that didn't hurt them.
Right.
So they're creating injustice.
Yes.
So I'm totally think that as a Jew, that if I tell you the story of my family and what's happened in the Holocaust, you will cry. But so totally understand the viewpoint of this is not okay. It's not okay. Yes, 100% not okay. But I also understand that this do not give me the right to do something that I'm fighting against. Because what they're fighting against going against someone that is innocent. Even if he did something, it's not right to use so much power, force on him. And they use force on people that didn't do something against them. I understand the frustration. Always understand me. I understand the frustration.
Yes.
But I think greatness is to demand justice, and when justice is served, to push back. And not to demand revenge. Revenge is not justice, because at the end, what you want is you want to help even that guy that was, even the killer, at the end you want to help him. Because he's also somehow a human being. So why people will actually go against black, against Jewish people, against the policemen? Why they go against them? Because someone convinced you that this group of people are not people, they're animals. The German said the Jews are animals. The German said the blacks are animals. The German says in order for one person to fight another person, you need to convince that the other side is an animal. And they actually say that. And it's a convincing power, because it's not true. Because what's true, you don't need to convince. So what's my message? My message is that we need to know that you, the person that listen right now, need to know that you are perfect, and anything that is not perfect is not you. But only as long as you allow everyone else to be at least as perfect as you.
Amen to that. Amen to that. Meir Ezra, thank you so much. It's been a privilege sitting with you and listening to your pearls of wisdom. I really appreciate it. I know there are many people who look up to you, and they want to connect with you again. So how can they do that on social media?
Meir Ezra Official on Instagram. It's the best. And Facebook, Meir Ezra. YouTube, Meir Ezra. Just my name. And in Instagram, it's Meir Ezra Official.
Awesome.
Yeah, and if you've got
when are you coming back to Toronto? Will you be coming back sometime in the fall or winter, or?
As soon as it's open, as soon as they're allowed to travel, I like traveling. There's some people that have seasickness. I have a ground sickness. I have to fly.
Yeah.
I like flying. So just last thing, if anyone have any question or need any help on anything, private message me on Instagram or on Facebook, and I will give you an answer that you will not necessarily like, but it will be effective.
Okay, fantastic. And I just wanted to give another shout out to Swapna, who joined us. She said this was a powerful interview. Thank you so much for joining. And Lizzie says, took one day worship amazing. She really appreciated everything that you said. Sonia says, awesome. Lots of love to everyone who joined us. And I wish we had so much more time, but we'll do this again. If you're okay with that, Meir, and we'll keep the conversation going, and we'll keep the love going, and we'll also increase the peace whenever we can. So thank you again, Meir. All the best to your family and your beautiful children and your wife, and You've been watching the Nikki Clarke Show here on Instagram Live. If you didn't catch the entire interview, that's okay, because it'll be up on Instagram again. And I'm also going to put it up on YouTube so you can like, and also share it with your network. So all the best. It's probably 9 o'clock now. So thanks again, Meir.
Thank you.
God bless you.
God bless you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye, everyone. Thanks for joining.
Thank you.